Room was quiet except for the soft ticking of the clock. YN sat at the edge of the bed, twisting the hem of her dress in nervous fingers. Her chest tightened every time she heard his footsteps in the mansion. Tonight was no different. The door opened. Jungkook stepped inside, his damp hair still glistening from the shower, black shirt clinging to his frame. He didn't look at her right away. His presence alone was enough to suffocate her. He finally spoke, his voice low, calm, but carrying that weight that always made her feel cornered. "Pack your things." YN blinked. "What?" His eyes slid to her, sharp and unwavering. "You heard me. Clothes. Enough for at least a week." She shook her head quickly, rising from the bed. "Why? Where are we going?" He smiled faintly, and that smile sent a shiver down her spine. "Our honeymoon." Her breath caught. She stared at him as if he had spoken something unreal. Honeymoon. Jungkook, no, I can't. I'm not ready. You think you get a say in this?" His tone hardened, his smirk gone. He took slow steps toward her, and she backed away until her calves hit the bed frame. "You are my wife, YN. That means where I go, you go." Her voice trembled. "This isn't a marriage. It's a prison. Don't pretend it's anything else." That made him chuckle. Dark, low, almost mocking. "Exactly. And you don't get to choose when your sentence begins or ends." Her eyes burned with tears, but she tried to stay strong. "Why are you doing this? Why drag me across the country when you already control me here?" He stopped right in front of her, his hand shooting out to grip her chin, tilting her face up. "Because here, you still dream about escape." His eyes narrowed. "But on Jeju, in a villa by the sea, under my watch every sunrise, every night. You'll have nowhere else to look but me." "Do you hear yourself?" she whispered, trying to push his hand away. "You sound sick, obsessive." His thumb stroked her jaw with unsettling gentleness. "Call it what you want. I call it devotion." Her chest rose and fell quickly. "You're a monster." His jaw tightened, but instead of anger, he leaned closer, lips brushing against her ear. "A monster who loves you more fiercely than anyone else ever could. That should scare you more than my darkness." "Love?" she spat, yanking her face away. "This isn't love. This is you caging me, forcing me. Love is possession, YN." His words sliced through her protest. "It's wanting someone so completely that you'll chain them if that's what it takes." Her throat closed up. "You can't." "Oh, I can," he cut in, his voice sharp now. He straightened, finally letting go of her chin with a sharp flick. "Be ready. Tomorrow morning. 10 o'clock. The jet leaves whether you're on it willingly or not." She stood frozen, trembling. "And if I refuse?" Jungkook reached the doorway, pausing just long enough to throw her a glance over his shoulder. His eyes glinted with that dangerous calm she dreaded. "Then I'll pack you myself, piece by piece. And trust me, you won't like my methods." The door shut with a final click, echoing like a lock sealing her fate. Left alone, YN sank onto the bed, her tears spilling freely. Her heart pounded, knowing there was no choice. Jeju wasn't a trip. It was exile. And Jungkook was both her captor and the only shadow she couldn't escape. The morning sunlight filtered weakly through the sheer curtains of YN's room, but it didn't bring comfort. It felt like the light itself was mocking her. Bright and free outside, but trapped behind glass inside the mansion. She sat on the edge of her bed, staring at the empty suitcase placed neatly on the floor. Her hands wouldn't move. Her heart thudded painfully, as though each beat was counting down to her sentence. A knock broke the silence. The door opened, and the head maid stepped in, bowing slightly. She was older, her expression calm, but unreadable. "Madam," she said softly, "the master has instructed me to help you prepare." YN's throat went dry. "Prepare for what?" she asked, though she already knew. The maid's eyes flickered to the suitcase. "For your honeymoon trip. He said everything should be ready before 10. YN's stomach turned. She gripped the bed sheets tightly. "I don't want to go," she whispered almost to herself. The maid hesitated for a brief second before moving toward the wardrobe. "I am only following orders, madam. Please, do not make this harder for yourself." YIN rose quickly, stepping between the maid and the wardrobe. "No, these are my clothes, my life. He can't just—" "Please," the maid interrupted gently, but firmly. "If I go back with empty hands, it will not be me who suffers the consequences. It will be you." The words made YN freeze. Of course. Even here, Jungkook's control seeped through others' voices. He didn't need to be in the room. His presence weighed on her through every servant, every order. YN stepped back slowly, her voice breaking. "I hate him."
The maid looked away, continuing her work in silence, carefully folding YN's dresses into the suitcase. Silk blouses, summer skirts, evening gowns, all chosen by Jungkook in the past, all things she never would have picked for herself. As each piece slid into the case, YN felt like shards of herself were being stolen away. She finally whispered, "Do you know what it feels like? To be forced into someone's world, to have no air of your own?" The maid paused for a heartbeat, her hands lingering on a pale blue dress, but she didn't answer. Instead, she neatly laid it in the suitcase and zipped the smaller compartments. Tears slipped down YN's cheeks. She bit her lip, trying not to sob out loud. "Even my freedom to pack, he takes that away." The maid, perhaps out of pity, murmured very quietly, "Sometimes, resistance is what feeds him." "Be careful, madam." YN's eyes widened. But before she could respond, the maid closed the suitcase with a final snap and bowed. "It is done. The master will be pleased." The words sent a chill down YN's spine. As the maid left, YN sat down on the floor beside the suitcase, pressing her forehead against her knees. Her tears fell onto the carpet, muffled sobs filling the room. The case stood there like a coffin, neatly packed, sealed, ready to carry her to a prison disguised as paradise, and Jungkook, though nowhere in sight, felt closer than ever. The mansion was quiet that night, too quiet. Not even the guards spoke as they changed shifts. The corridors, usually alive with faint footsteps or whispers, seemed to hold their breath. YNN hadn't moved from her spot by the window for hours. The city lights glittered in the distance, far beyond the high walls that imprisoned her. She traced one trembling finger along the cold glass, imagining the freedom on the other side. Tomorrow she would be flying far away, but not to freedom, to another cage, a prettier one. Her reflection stared back at her, pale and tired, eyes rimmed red from crying. The faint bruise on her wrist, a remnant of his grip from days ago, glowed like a cruel reminder of what defiance cost her. A knock came, 2 slow taps, then the door creaked open. She didn't have to turn to know who it was. His presence filled the room before his voice did, a quiet authority that pressed down like gravity itself. Jungkook stepped inside, his black shirt half unbuttoned, sleeves rolled, his hair falling carelessly over his eyes. He looked at her the way someone looks at something they already own. "Still awake?" His tone was smooth, casual, almost amused. YN's body tensed. She didn't answer. He shut the door behind him softly, locking it with a click that sounded far louder than it should have. "It's late," he continued, his steps slow and deliberate as he walked toward her. "You should be sleeping. Big day tomorrow." YN let out a quiet breath, her voice hoarse. "You mean my punishment starts tomorrow?" He stopped a few feet away, his lips curving faintly. "Honeymoon, YN. That's what normal people call it." She turned her head sharply, meeting his gaze in the window's reflection. "Normal people don't trap each other in cages." "True," he murmured, coming closer, his reflection growing larger behind hers. "But we're not normal, are we?" Her shoulders stiffened when his hand came to rest lightly on her arm. He didn't grip her this time, just brushed his thumb against her skin as though testing how long she would endure it before breaking away. She didn't move. Maybe she couldn't. "You've been crying," Jungkook said quietly, his voice dropping lower. "Was it the packing that upset you?" No answer. He tilted his head, his lips ghosting near her ear. "Or the thought of leaving?" "Leaving?" she snapped bitterly. "You mean being taken?" His chuckle was soft, too soft. "Semantics, love." "Don't call me that," she said. Jungkook smiled at her reflection, eyes darkening. "I'll call you whatever I want. You already know that." The air between them turned heavy. He leaned closer until his breath brushed her neck, his voice a whisper that sent chills down her spine. "You've been fighting me since the day I put my ring on you. But tomorrow, you'll wear it like it was always meant to be there." YN's voice trembled as she whispered, "You can control everything, Jungkook, but not what I feel." He finally moved, walking around to face her fully. His gaze locked on her tear-streaked face, and for a fleeting second, something almost human flickered in his expression. Regret, maybe, or curiosity. But it vanished quickly. He crouched slightly, his tone soft but edged with warning. "You say that like feelings matter. You'll learn soon. It's not love or hate that binds people. YN. It's power. And you already gave yours to me the day you said I do." "I never said it willingly," she burst out. He smiled faintly, eyes glinting with something unreadable. "And yet, you're still mine." YN's heart pounded in her chest. "Why are you doing this to me?" That question hung in the air, raw and broken. Jungkook straightened, his gaze drifting toward the suitcase neatly placed near her bed. "Because you ran," he said simply. "Because you thought you could leave me. And now, I have to remind you that no matter where you go, I'll find you. Always." His words sent a cold shiver through her. She stepped back, clutching her own arms. "You can't own someone's soul, Jungkook." He stepped forward until she hit the wall. His hand pressed gently, almost tenderly, to the side of her face. "Oh, YN," he whispered, voice dripping with false sympathy. "You have no idea what I can own." Her breath hitched. His touch wasn't rough this time. That was what scared her most. It was slow, deliberate, like he wanted her to feel every second of his control without needing force. "You'll get on that plane tomorrow," he murmured. "You'll smile when the cameras flash. You'll stand by my side, hold my hand, and everyone will think we're in love. That's how this works." "And if I don't?" she asked quietly. He leaned closer until their foreheads nearly touched. His whisper was low, dangerous. "Then I'll make sure you never walk away again." For a moment, silence. The kind that hurt, the kind that suffocated. Then, unexpectedly, he stepped back. His voice softened. "You should rest." He turned toward the door but stopped halfway. "You'll need your strength for the flight, and for everything that comes after." YN's heart thudded painfully. "What do you mean?" He glanced over his shoulder, eyes half-shadowed, his smile too calm. "Let's just say..." He paused. "The honeymoon will teach you what it means to belong." The words left her cold. As he unlocked the door, she managed to whisper, "You're a monster." He turned his head slightly, eyes narrowing. "No, YN. Monsters hurt for pleasure." He smirked faintly. "I hurt for a reason." And with that, he left, closing the door quietly behind him. I/N slid down the wall the moment he was gone, her entire body trembling. The night air felt colder, thicker, as if the mansion itself had absorbed his darkness. She buried her face in her hands, sobs shaking through her. Outside, the wind picked up, rattling the glass panes. Somewhere far away, a jet engine hummed in the distance, the sound of tomorrow approaching. Tomorrow she would fly with him. Tomorrow her cage would have wings, and there was no escape in the sky. The last night had been an agonizing vigil for YN. Every ticking moment felt like a crushing weight. She was trapped, unable to decide her course of action. If she resisted, what brutal consequence awaited her? If she simply surrendered, would she ever escape this gilded cage? Every move JK made was a fresh source of dread. The forced marriage was now leading to a honeymoon in Paris, a place where escape seemed impossible. The first rays of morning barely managed to pierce the heavy curtains, yet YN remained seated on the bed, staring blankly ahead. Precisely at 7:30 a.m., the door swung open and JK stepped inside. He looked impeccably tailored in a light gray suit, but his eyes held that familiar, dangerous gleam. He instantly noticed YN, still in her night clothes. Yin, his voice was smooth but steel-edged. Our private jet departs at 9 a.m. You have 5 minutes to get ready and come down for breakfast. YN offered no response, only a defiant stare. JK checked the expensive watch on his wrist, then advanced. He stopped right at the edge of the bed and leaned close to YN's face. If you don't get ready and come down in 5 minutes, his voice was dangerously sweet, his intentions lethal, then I will come myself, and I will prepare you. And my method, you will find it highly enjoyable, Mrs. John. He slowly traced the line of her cheek with the pad of his thumb, a deliberate, possessive touch that sent a shiver down her spine. JK left the room, but YN remained frozen. She was suspended between deep fear and a desperate urge to rebel. 5 minutes later, JK dispatched the headmaid. Go and see if Madam is ready. Tell her to hurry down. The headmaid returned moments later, visibly trembling. Sir, Madam is still not ready, she whispered fearfully. JK's face darkened instantly. Rage flared in his eyes. He took a slow, calculated breath, a sure sign of his control snapping. He marched swiftly upstairs. Without knocking, he slammed the door open. YN, startled by the noise, finally stood up from the bed's edge. Without uttering a single word, JK seized her arm with an iron grip and dragged her toward the bathroom. JK, what are you doing? YN cried out, her voice laced with terror. JK shoved her directly under the shower and turned the knob to cold. YN screamed. The sudden icy shock made her gasp. Her nightgown immediately became drenched and clung to her body. Stop it, JK. Turn it off. YN pleaded, the water streaming over her face. JK stood outside the shower, completely unmoved. A cruel, predatory smile stretched across his lips. I utterly despise disobedience, YN, he said, his voice rising above the water. Did you think you could ignore me and I would sit quietly? You belong to me. Your every breath, your every move is under my control. When she was completely saturated, he turned the water off. In the very next instant, JK reached in and grabbed the zip of her soaking gown, pulling it down sharply. The zip tore open, and the gown dropped to her feet. YN stood exposed in only her wet undergarments, trembling with humiliation and fury. She immediately crossed her arms over her chest. JK used his fingers to gently brush a few drops of water from her cheek. Consider this my wake-up call, he purred. Then his hand glided past her arm, his palm settling on the small of her wet back. N gasped at the unexpected contact. His hand slowly began to move upwards, tracing a path along her spine. He deliberately reached the area where her soaked bra hook was fastened. His fingers brushed against the damp fabric, teasing the clasp, making her fear he would undo it completely. You feel that, YN, he murmured, his breath hot near her ear. That panic, that's what you get for making me wait. His hand paused at the hook for a suspended moment. Then, instead of unhooking it, he simply gripped her shoulder firmly. Tears mixed with the lingering water on YN's face. Why are you doing this? What is all this? JK moved in closer, his gaze locked intensely on hers. His voice deepened, becoming dark and terrifying. Why? Because you provoked me. What did you think? That if you didn't obey, I'd keep asking nicely? You wasted 4 minutes, YN. I am a mafia boss. My time is priceless. And now, I will account for every single second you've wasted. Paris is just the beginning. He picked up a large, fluffy towel and threw it into her hands.
Wipe yourself down and step out, he commanded curtly. And if you dare to waste even 1 more minute, you will find yourself not just in this state, but standing before me in even fewer clothes. Understood? JK slammed the door shut and left. YN stood there, shaking from the cold water and JK's terrifying brutality. She reluctantly picked up the towel. She knew now, with chilling certainty, that this trip to Paris was no honeymoon. It was to be her most difficult trial yet.